These are some of the craziest Zelda myths and claims out there. For example, signposts in Ocarina of Time can be cut into a maximum of 6 pieces, but there's only one way to do it. According to Hawk78 from the comments, you first need to do a horizontal slash, the final slash of a vertical combo, a vertical slash from the opposite side, a final slash of a vertical combo again, and a thrust, leaving you with only a stubby bit of pole. But does that work? Well, I tried it, and after some messing around, because this was harder than I thought, I was able to pull it off. This is by far the most efficient way to get a sign cut into bits, and also maximizes the amount of pieces you're left with. So this claim is true, but this is only one of the many claims and myths we will be testing. We will also try to find Aurora Borealis in Breath of the Wild, hit the moon from Majora's Mask with a Sheikah stone, and create a dragon elixir that is incredibly powerful. So let's move on to the next claim. Sandals of Peace asked me, can you calm down enraged Cuckoos with one of the Ocarina songs? Well, I went to Kakariko Village, bullied the Cuckoos found there until they wanted me dead, and played every song that you can possibly find in the game, even those used for dungeons. But as you can see, no matter the song, these Cuckoos didn't calm down at all and still tried to kill me. So yeah, clearly this claim is false. Nothing seems to calm down these ferocious beasts. Now let's move on to Hyrule Castle Town. Shiro said that if you catch bugs in Ocarina of Time and sell them to the buyer in Castle Town as a kid or in Kakariko Village as an adult, you get 50 rupees a piece. And since multiple bugs appear when you drop bugs from a bottle, you can infinitely fill your bottles, turning this into an infinite money glitch. But does this work? Well, when I tried it live with viewers, yes, we actually streamed all of this here on YouTube, I stream 3 times a week, we noticed that this works really well. It is probably the best money trick in the game, especially early on. All you need is a single bug and a couple of bottles. So this claim is true. Now let's move on to a much less hospitable place that might also make us very rich. Because according to Emerald Gamer, the decorative skulls found in Gerudo Fortress actually drop items. So we went there immediately to shoot every skull that we could find to see what would happen. And as you can see, loads of rupees dropped on the ground. Now, it didn't work on every skull, but a lot of them did drop money. So yeah, this works. Alright, let's move on to another claim that is a bit more wild instead of being lucrative. Sought from the comments claimed that the big moblins found in the sacred meadow of Ocarina of Time will make Link fly away if he gets too close while wearing the hover boots. You're even able to fly to the grotto where the fairy fountain can be found. Now this sounded like a lot of fun, so we went there and tried it. Now as you can see, this totally works. As soon as you're hit, Link will fly backwards at 100 miles an hour. You're going so fast, the game can't even keep up. So yeah, this 100% works. You can even reach the grotto this way. But do keep in mind, the closer you are to the big moblin, the faster and further you will fly. Now for our next claim, we will up the stakes a bit. Because Mark said that Ganondorf can actually be defeated a lot faster. When he does his dead man volley attack, also known as energy ball tennis in the community, you can actually cut the whole match short by standing close to him. So I decided to see if that actually works. Now I must admit, it was difficult to pull this off, and Ganondorf annoyed me to death for a good bit, but I did succeed in the end. And as you can see, the whole match ended after only one back and forth, cutting this whole section of the fight short by a solid 75%. So Mark was right. But this wasn't the only claim that he wanted me to test. According to him, the re-dead enemy reacts to sound, but if Link stomps around with the iron boots that make a load of noise, they won't react at all. I was quite skeptical of this claim, so I jumped into one of the graves found in Kakariko Village to confront these undead creatures with my pretty new boots. Now while I expected some sort of reaction, I got none. I was able to hop, roll and run around them without any of them trying to grab me, all thanks to the iron boots. So yeah, he was right about this one as well. But this isn't the only enemy you can trick in Ocarina of Time. Another that is not too clever is the blue bubble. Sir Grandmaster wondered if these floating skulls will also chase bomb chews, because in a previous video, we had seen that they are very interested in bombs. Now, I was curious about this as well, so I decided to go to the Forest Temple and put a bomb chew down to see how the enemy would react. And man oh man, we were in for a treat. He went after the thing like a madman, and even did something quite unique. He was so obsessed that he even went out of bounds to chase it, and was stuck outside of the room afterwards, but we could still hear him.
He's stuck outside of the map. That is great. That is fantastic. I love this game. He glitched up to heaven.
So yeah, this really worked, and the results were fantastic, to say the least. Now we've got another enemy that we have to talk about, the Stalfos. Because while normally you have a one-on-one duel with them that requires skill and good timing, there's apparently a trick to make it easier. Because Excellent left a comment in which he described that if you hold the control stick to the lower down right position while swinging your sword, you can get past the Stalfos shield, but it does require good positioning. Now, I had never heard of this, so off to the Shadow Temple we went to find ourselves a fun skelly boy to kill. Now, when I was fighting this Stalfos that we found, I noticed that the trick did work. Multiple times I was able to clip him, even though his shield was up. I had to get a little to the side of him, and on the very edge of the sword's range, but it wasn't always successful. So in the end, I would consider this claim plausible. Now let's move on to some more obscure claims, some of which I have heard of before, and others that are new to me. Because Carbine Kyle has two things that we will test. First, he said that a sign outside of the Gerudo Fortress with a moon and star on it will actually reward you with 50 rupees if you hit it with a light arrow. So I went there and shot the sign to see if it would drop a reward, but nothing really happened. So what about the other interesting claim? You can obtain the heart piece on top of the Dodongo cavern without using a magic beam, which is the intended way of getting it. Apparently, if you backflip off the ledge higher up on Death Mountain where the bomb flower can be found, you can reach the top of the Dodongo's cavern with ease. So I did just that to see if it worked. And yeah, it was actually very easy to pull off. Some people in chat during the live stream where I recorded all of this even said that they always did it this way. So in the end, one is false and another is true. Alright, now that we're close to Death Mountain, we got another thing that we can test. Because this commenter left a number of things for us to try. For example, using the Megaton hammer, you can flip the torch slugs found in the Fire Temple, making it much easier to kill them. And as you can see, this 100% works, which makes them much less of an ordeal, so using that item is actually a must. But there's another claim that he made that I want to test. Apparently in the lava room, you can summon 2 time blocks using the Song of Time that will make the whole challenge a lot easier. And as you can see, they spawned right after playing the song and allowed me to get up there without a fuss. So once again, another true claim that makes life easier. But he had one last interesting thing that could make you very rich very quickly. Shooting an enemy with a light arrow causes them to drop a purple rupee. So we shot these keys to see if they would drop loot. And yeah, both of them left us with a neat purple rupee. So once again, this claim is true. However, we're also here to test smaller myths and claims that aren't super useful. For example, when I was streaming, someone said that bugs can actually walk on water. So I booted up Majora's Mask, went into a grotto, got some bugs, and dropped all of them on a large puddle. And while at first it seemed like they were walking and gliding on the water, I quickly noticed that they sank to the bottom and even saw one of them clearly drown.
Whee! They do walk a bit weird though. Nah, they kind of sink to the bottom. They don't... Oh, never mind. They just drown. That one clearly drowned.
Which means that this claim is false. While they might look like water striders, they clearly aren't. Now let's move on to something different. Link, but this time as a Goron. Because while he might seem mighty and strong, not every enemy will fall to this giant. Because Yiga Wild said that it's impossible to kill a Choo-Choo as a Goron. And I was skeptical of this immediately. So I went to a Choo-Choo that was right outside of Clock Town and started unleashing all my moves. Punches, ground pounds, everything. But as you can see, nothing worked. I made that jelly jiggle, but it never popped like it normally does. A Choo-Choo just absorbs the energy. So this claim is true for the most part. Because when you roll around as a Goron with spikes, you can actually kill them. So by the looks of it, you need to pierce this monster to end it. However, Goron Link isn't the only one with some weird quirks. When you're a Zora, we can also witness some crazy stuff. Shadow Zero, who had had a number of things for us to try, said that if you die due to poisoned water in the swamp of Majora's Mask, you'll be set on fire as the dying animation plays, which makes no sense at all. So we hopped into the poisonous water and stayed there to see what would happen. However, as I already thought, nothing happened at all. Link just fell to the ground and I respawned. So this claim is false, but we have 2 others to test. And we are upping the ante immediately. We will be fighting Majora's Mask to see if we will hear Link scream instead of the Dekus when buried in a Deku flower and being hit by Majora's laser. Now, it took a bit of messing around, and I'll be honest, I never knew that these things were Deku flowers, but I was able to pull it off. And as you can hear right here, it is true.
It is true! It is true! It is true! Also, the laser instantly kills you as a Deku. That's interesting.
And this must have been a mistake on Nintendo's end. Now let's move on to the last claim that this person made, and that is, if you activate cheats that allow you to use the giant mask anywhere, you can travel around the world much faster, among other things. Now, luckily enough, I was able to use cheats, so no matter where I was, I could put the giant's mask on. But the results weren't great. As you can see, in multiple different locations, I tried to put the mask on, but all it did was crash the game. I had to reboot multiple times because it was just stuck, which clearly shows that even using the mask isn't really possible no matter the cheats you use. Now let's move on to something more evil, because Snacker claimed that if you hit Honey and Darling from the minigames with your bow often enough, they will kick you out. So I went to the game shop on the right day and immediately started shooting both of them. Arrow after arrow struck them, but in the end, they didn't care in the slightest. I even tried it with the bomb chews, but again, they complained, but they never kicked me out. So this claim is false. Alright, let's try to harm another thing, but this time it could be for good instead of evil. Blue Shell Incident said that you should be able to hit the moon on the 3rd day with a Gossip Stone rocket. Now for those that don't know, if you damage a Sheikah Stone with a bomb, it will actually shoot up into the sky like a rocket and explode. So we did just that on the 3rd day to see if it could reach and potentially even damage the moon that's going to crash into Termina. And the outcome was interesting. The Sheikah Stone went high enough to reach the moon, but by the looks of it, this object doesn't have collision in the game. So the rocket went through it. This means that the commenter was right, but its effect wasn't too exciting, to be honest. However, let's move on to a real battle of sorts. A fight with an actual creature that we want to kill for its treasure. Because William Colt said that at Romani Ranch, you can find a massive Gwei, and killing it nets you a solid orange rupee worth 200. So hunting down this legendary beast is worth it. But does it exist? Well, after searching high and low with everyone on stream, we didn't find anything. So by the looks of it, this claim is false. Now, while many of the myths and claims we cover are from the comments of my videos, sometimes people also suggest stuff live. For example, this person in chat said that you can't really take a picture of the ghosts seen in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. It will just be blank. Now, this could be true. So we ran to Ikana Canyon to take a picture of Sharp to see what would happen. But as you can see, he's on the picture. So he's just like any other character or enemy, making this whole claim an outright lie. Now in Twilight Princess, we saw for the first time ever bombs that could be used underwater, which was quite revolutionary. But after that, they were rarely seen. And Tom Fish wondered what exactly would happen if you threw a bomb into water in Tears of the Kingdom. So we did some experimenting to find out, but quite quickly we noticed that there wasn't much to really test. As soon as the bomb hits the surface of the water, it will explode. It won't go out or sink to the bottom. So in general, Nintendo didn't keep this in mind, and so a bomb has a bit of a weird effect in Tears of the Kingdom. But what about another small detail? Alright then claimed that a horse will follow you around if you have a carrot stuck to your shield. Now this sounded great, so I ran to the closest stable to give it a try. And as you can see, it works really well, which is perfect for making a cool cinematic shot. Just Link and his horse slowly making their way. I love it. But this claim makes sense for the most part. However, the next one is a lot crazier. According to Uniclown, Yiga members that you encounter will disappear if you quickly switch to your Yiga outfit, which makes no sense at all. But does it actually happen? Well, after we tried it, we saw that this entire claim was not true at all. Nothing happened. But of course, this wasn't the only grandiose claim that we got. Lemmy wanted to know what would happen if you combine two 8-fold long blades. These weapons normally create a massive air slash that will cut through anything. So doubling up will make it better, right? Well, after combining two, we noticed that nothing really changed. Sure, the damage went up, but we saw no difference in the air slash attack, which was a bit disappointing. Now let's move over to another type of weapon that is quite unique. The multi-shot bows. Apparently, using a hoverstone in combination with these won't really work. Well, that's what Max Yiga said at least. So I did just that. And as you can see, the hoverstone stops in the sky and then just disappears. Which might be due to the other arrow hitting it. But I'm not sure really. As you can see, Max Yiga was right. Now after this, we ventured to Death Mountain, where we tried something that multiple people suggested in the past. Boiling an egg in one of the hot springs found there. Quite quickly I was able to find one, and I dropped an egg in. And as you can see, it was ready to be eaten in seconds. So it works. However, you would rarely do this, because it ain't a great food item or something. Alright, the next thing we will look at is a bit of a mystery, because in the end, we weren't able to find a very satisfying answer. We know that the recent 3D Zelda games have complex weather effects, and one of those is apparently northern lights. And no, not entirely localized in a kitchen.
That's it?
So we looked around for a bit, but found nothing. And to be honest, I had never seen it in the games either. But apparently it is real. There's footage of it online, and even Zelda Wiki claims that it's a thing. Apparently it can be seen in the Hebra Mountains. So I guess it's true, but I've never seen it myself. Now, one way to always get your claims or myths included in a video is by leaving a donation. It's the least I can do after you help out the channel. So we have to test what Luke suggested during the stream. He asked if you can still trick Yigas with bananas when wearing the full outfit, because normally they will go bananas for them.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I know, I'm horrible. So we went to a Yiga base found on the Great Plateau and dropped a banana to see what would happen. And as you can see, they really wanted to act on their desire, but have to remain professional while being surrounded by other Yiga members. So in the end, the answer is no. But let's try something more outlandish. In the past, we saw that riding a bear is possible. But what about the big boars that roam Hyrule? Tamashi suggested that I should jump on a boar from above using a paraglider. So we found one and ambushed it. But every time I tried to land on it, nothing happened. So yeah, for some reason, this doesn't work, even though it makes more sense than the bears. Because in Twilight Princess, we were able to ride on boars. Now, when exploring the world of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, you will come across massive dragons. Godlike beings that dropped scales, horns, and other things if you hit them with an arrow. And according to Zonai Engineer, if you use these in elixirs, they will last 30 minutes. But is it true? Well, no, it isn't. We tried this multiple times and nothing happened. Now, those were all the myths and claims we had for today. But don't worry, I have many other videos like this on the channel that you can check out right now. Also, be sure to leave your ideas in the comments and you might be featured in a future video. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below what you think of the video, because I kind of sped up the pacing a bit. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the bell button and like, because it really helps. And also, apparently you can give me something called hype points. I don't really understand it or how it works really, but apparently it's a thing on YouTube. So if you can give me those, it would really help, because they have a massive impact on how well a video does. And I don't understand why. So please help me out. I would highly appreciate it.